right?
Sure, I can wing off of that one. Absolutely.
Cool. Good evening and welcome. Thank you for coming to Combination Trivia.
Yes, thanks for coming back. If you've been here
We
before,
Yeah, if you've never been here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. We are streaming live on Facebook. We are streaming live on YouTube. We are streaming live on AMP. Okay?
we're just living large.
I know. Because we're with it. We're hip. But we're here tonight to talk about comic books.
Yes.
And specifically, now, those of you who've been here before, you know how we do. We don't just talk about comic books. We talk about a specific comic book. We talk about a specific graphic novel or story arc. And we talk about one that characters you might be familiar with, plots that might be suggestive, but you may not have heard of, you may not have read, maybe you have. Anyway, and if you have, awesome, let's see how much you know. And if you haven't, stick around, listen, and see how much you know.
Yeah.
All right. Now, traditionally when we do this and when we start doing this with our game interactive, we would be giving you a crowd per trivia code, but we're going to wait for another week and a half or so on this. We
Yes.
are Combination. Find out more about us at my badly designed website at com-nation.com. Send us an email at the.com.nation@gmail.com, or stick around.
Yeah. Put your comments in the lines below.
Exactly. So yeah, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
If you've only known Spider-Man from the movies, that's fun. But tonight we're talking about Spider-Man Blue, which is, a book you might want to look up, you might want to look into.
I want to check out. It's pretty cool.
So Spider-Man, just to cover the stuff we kind of already know, Spider-Man is from Queens. Yes. Spider-Man was Peter Parker. He was a poor, sickly orphan. He was bitten by a radioactive spider. And as a result of the bite, he gained superhuman strength, speed, and agility, along with the ability to cling to walls.
Yeah.
Now, Todd, for an additional no points, who were Spider-Man's original creators?
That would be Stan the Man Lee, father of Marvel Comics, and illustrator Steve Ditko, who was the other major force in the early days of Marvel, helping come up with a number of different cool characters, including Spider-Man and Doctor Strange.
Now, Spider-Man, by the way, he was a filler story for a series. He came, he's filler. But readers responded so powerfully to Peter Parker. I think it's because he was from Queens. And thus he had an ongoing title and basically was a media empire.
Yes.
Spider-Man has been on video games, a couple of animated shows and cartoons.
Yep.
The live-action film franchise that's been rebooted 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
One live-action television series that, oh my, that was something. And
even a Broadway musical.
Yeah, Broadway
with songs
musical,
and lyrics by YouTube.
Oh, but we're not going to sing, even though, yes, we are broadcasting on AMP.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Definitely not from that musical.
Yep. All right. If you're playing along with CrowdPro, this is the code. And this is the part where we say, Combination, that's us, makes every attempt to bring you accurate and interesting questions. However, from time to time, some may argue that our questions have more than one answer. If this happens, please accept our preemptive and most humble apologies, and please choose from the best response from the options available. When you're playing along with our CrowdPro element, it's multiple choice. So you have, 25% chance of getting it right.
Yeah, remember, 1 out of 4.
Yeah, exactly. Those are great odds. Tonight's questions are primarily from the work featured. So that's Spider-Man Blue, not the Spider-Man movies. There might, some objects may have shifted during the flight.
Mm-hmm.
And appearances in other media and changes made by subsequent storylines may not apply. Also, your answer is your answer, and after the question is closed, that's it. The host and/or combination, that's us, will have final say in all circumstances during play, also known as if Doc Ock comes and breaks into your house and destroys your Wi-Fi, so you can't answer a question. That's super cool, but you probably have bigger issues than winning our trivia game.
But if you survive, send us pictures. We want to see.
Yeah, exactly. Send us pictures at b.com.nation@gmail.com. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We might be on Instagram at some point.
Yep.
We are on Twitter. And eventually Todd will figure out how to get us on Instagram. Go Todd. The fastest and firstest winning answer, right answer, is the most winning answers. Points, thermometer, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The player with the most winning winner answers is the winner. Absolutely no chicken dinner. You are just playing this for fun. You're hanging out with us because we're so far from cool. We're almost cool again, maybe ironically. You're playing for fun.
Much like
so let's have
Peter
some
Parker.
Fun.
He's our spirit animal. Nerds.
Yes. Now, let's talk about the first appearance of Spider-Man. We said he was a filler story.
That's right.
He was in an anthology magazine, right?
Mm-hmm. He was in Amazing Fantasy number 15.
So, Amazing Adult Fantasy, hello, retitled Amazing Fantasy because, yes, was an American comic, is an American comic book anthology series. It was published by Marvel, and it ran from 1961 to 1962. Although it was revived in the mid-90s, right?
Yeah. As a different type of anthology, but the original run ran, I think, 15 issues.
So the final issue of the original run in August of 1962 introduced Spider-Man.
Yes.
And then, like we were saying, he was really popular.
Yeah.
People loved him. People responded. He was the scrawny kid from Queens. He was an underdog. He's always been an underdog. He's never, he's always been scratching and scrambling, yet trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So, originally the first, I'm trying to remember, the first comic book story was like five pages. Spider-Man's first 5 pages, and
Stan Lee was trying to do something kind of quirky and different, almost an O. Henry type story with a twist. Something, just a little bit different to kind of go along with Steve Ditko's slightly different artwork. Yep.
And 7 months later, Spider-Man had his own title.
Yeah, because the kid loved him, and the adults.
Now, according to the internet, Spider-Man has a hyphen. Spider-Man has a hyphen, y'all. Spider-Man. Okay?
Right.
Why does Spider-Man have a hyphen? Spider-Man has a hyphen so he's not confused with
Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although it might be incredulous. We may not believe it. And I cannot pronounce it. But back in the day, in 1960, whatever, they were convinced that people would think that Spider-Man was a Superman ripoff. And so they put the hyphen in to give it a little. To make it stand out.
Distinguish it from that other guy in red and blue.
I can't see how they would think it would be confused, but there you go. If you're playing along with our multiple choice, we had the alternates of we had Starman, which wasn't it. We had Salamander.
Nope. And then we
Salamander
had and the Spider, which was a completely different character.
Yeah, and now Starman was.
Starman's been a couple of different characters, mostly from that other distinguished company called DC Comics, which was also where Superman came from. He's been shown up in numerous different incarnations. And Salamander was kind of a low-grade villain, slinking around. And the original Spider,
the
Spider was basically a ripoff of the Shadow. Totally different character we're not talking about tonight.
He didn't mean to say ripoff. He meant to say homage. It was an homage.
It was homage. It was style. Style.
So, by the way, I'm also going to take this as a public service announcement. There's a hyphen. Yes. Like, your hardcore friends who say it's SF, not science fiction, not sci-fi. Your hardcore friends who say Skippy when you say sci-fi. Yeah, drive them crazy by dropping the hyphen from Spider-Man. It is correctly spelled with a hyphen. It's a hyphen. It's a hyphen. It's a hyphen.
Because it's Spider-Man.
Got it? It's not Spider-Man.
Right.
Not.
And part of the other reason they supposedly put the hyphen in was to establish that he is, in fact, a man, not like some mutated spider, because that would be gross. And somehow you're muted, dear. There we go.
The thought of the spider was so gross, it freaked out my mic. Obvious.
Yes, obviously. Yuck.
So the original Spider-Man, he wasn't what? He wasn't a teenager. He wasn't trying to cash in on his abilities.
Or even sort of able to sense danger later.
He wasn't heroic.
Nope.
Again, if you were playing along and you see our multiple choices, it's like, yeah. Spider-Man was a superhero, is a superhero who initially wasn't so much of a hero.
No.
He was absolutely positively trying to cash in on his abilities.
Teenager struggling to get by.
Yeah, he wanted some money. He wanted some independence. He wanted, wanted to do some stuff.
Yep.
But about the teenager, Peter Parker, or Spider-Man, was the first teenager to lead a book. Right. He was traditionally before Spider-Man, the character, the teen character in the book, they were the sidekick of the heroic hero, be it male or female. But Spider-Man was the first time a teenager had his own book and was the lead of the book.
Which is one of the other reasons he probably took off, because all the kids could identify with him.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And he was the first to try to make some money. I don't think admittedly this is 1962, but everybody else, all the heroes before him had always been reverent, brave, and true. Spider-Man was the first one who was a little like trying to figure out the work-life balance.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's what made him way more identifiable.
He was the everyman. Again,
all right. So the next question, you're going to know the answer to this. You are.
Yes.
I have faith in you. Peter was raised by his Aunt May and his...
Aunt Petunia. No. That's somebody else.
And his uncle... Come on, y'all. You know this. Everyone knows this. Everyone's got... He was raised by his Aunt May and...
Uncle Ben.
Yeah. Not to be confused with the rice. And everyone... So, we'll get into Peter's parents and what happened to them a little later. But yeah, everybody knows Uncle Ben. Everybody knows what happened to Uncle Ben, more or less. It's a classic but tragic origin story.
Yes. And part of where the whole classic line of...
Hey, maybe you know that line, maybe you don't. Stick around.
Maybe.
But you knew it, didn't you? You knew it was Uncle Ben, didn't you? I'm very proud of you.
I did.
But I'm talking to the general audience. But Aunt Parker, Aunt May's full name is?
Riley Parker.
May Riley Parker. Right. So Peter Parker's parents are Richard and Mary Parker. These were Ben's brother and sister-in-law.
Correct.
So they ultimately have a huge backstory.
Yes, which was worked in over the years of the series. Yeah.
I'm not going to go into some of the backstory of Peter Parker's parents because it makes my head hurt. In the book that we're talking about tonight, Spider-Man Blue, it's sort of alluded to a little bit, but they don't go into it. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
Suffice to say, they went out, they did some things, as did Ben and May when they were younger.
Oh yeah.
And I know, and which time frame you look at of the stories, because they were World War II babies,
Yeah,
sorts.
maybe.
Yeah, at least debut in the 60s.
Now, in Spider-Man Blue, Peter's asking to borrow money from Aunt May to buy. Is it a phone?
No.
Is it a computer?
No.
Is it
not
a
even a
microscope?
microscope.
Nope.
No.
It's a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man Blue they don't go into time, but they don't like have an establishing date, but it feels very 1960s. It feels very classic Spider-Man tale. So buying a phone and buying a computer, those were seriously off the table. And buying a microscope, probably it was a possibility, but no.
Lots of money back then.
Yeah.
Serious cash.
Peter wanted to buy a microscope. Peter wanted to buy a motorcycle. And it's great.
Did your mute again. He wanted to get around town, pop in and out, hang with cool kids.
Exactly. Yeah, there's this great moment where Aunt May reminisces about the fact that Uncle Ben used to have a motorcycle. He's a little bit of a bad boy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But there you go. Now, we all know Uncle Ben's line, or do we? With great blank comes great
knowledge.
No.
The
fact that Todd always gets this wrong. With great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
So,
yes.
This is actually straight up a Spider-Man quote. This is a Spider-Man quote. Voltaire, in 1793, in a collection of the decrees made by the French National Convention, wrote, "They must consider that great responsibility follows inseparably from great power." It's not the same. So if anybody's sitting there saying, "Oh, that line's Voltaire," they're kind of right.
But not.
And by the way, for some folks who sit there and say it came from the Bible, Luke 12:48 says, "From everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded, and from the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked." So again, they're not wrong, but they're not right. They're not as right.
Thematically the same.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have that great,
So obviously, I would think Stan and crew, might have been familiar with Voltaire or Luke, or just it made sense, you know?
Yeah. That's the way it goes.
In Spider-Man Blue, the first villain to appear is it the Goblin Queen? Is it Gorgon? Is it Gorilla Grodd?
Could be. No?
No.
It's the Green Goblin.
The Green Goblin. Mm-hmm. Now, for those of you who know or have seen the movies, yes, Green Goblin is the father of Peter's pal, Harry Osborn.
Yes.
Green Goblin is the alias of Norman Osborn, who was created by
Stan Lee and Steve Ditko.
Yep, same folks who created Spider-Man.
Yep.
Green Goblin. Yeah, Green Goblin is the archenemy of Spider-Man. He has been around that long. He was, according to the storyline and whatnot, Green Goblin was originally a manifestation of a chemically induced insanity.
Yes, because Norman Osborn ran Oscorp, which was a science-geared company that dabbled in chemistry and technology and all that stuff. And supposedly Norman got a spray of something bad and
yeah, as you do.
Suddenly thought he was a goblin.
And his son ended up taking the persona of,
well, depending on the story, Hobgoblin.
Yep.
But yes.
Yep. So it's Green Goblin, Hobgoblin. Yeah. And you've probably seen the Green Goblin in one of the Spider-Man movies. He was in the 2002 Spider-Man movie, in the 2004 Spider-Man movie, in the 2007 Spider-Man movie. And he was in, and he was in the most recent Spider-Man movie. He is. Yep. He's the arch enemy. He's been around for a while.
Showing up in all the cartoons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all know J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah.
What's the first J stand for, Todd?
That would be John.
Yep, it's John. So his full name is John Jonah Jameson, and to be clear, he's John Jonah.
No.
Exactly. All right. So his full name is John Jonah Jameson, and not just John Jonah Jameson, but John Jonah Jameson Jr. Say it with me now, John Jonah Jameson Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Like, seriously, I know a lot of these comic characters like to have alliteration, but that's a little nutty.
Yeah.
J. Jonah Jameson's father was called John. His son is called John, but he's just Jonah or J. Jonah.
Yeah.
J. Jonah Jameson first appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man #1, which was March 1963, like we said, 6-7 months after the
initial debut in Amazing Fantasy 15. Yep.
And for those of you who may not be remembering who J. Jonah Jameson is, really, he's the gentleman with the toothbrush, mustache, the flat top haircut, and a big old cigar.
Yep. Constantly trying to.
Well, he's smearing Spider-Man. Yep. He refers to Spider-Man as a menace. He's a criminal.
He's a wild and crazy vigilante who's out there doing things in the city he shouldn't be.
Yes. But, but he does employ that photojournalist. What's that photojournalist's name?
That kid with the good eye and the camera named Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah, him.
Mm-hmm. So, again, John Jonah Jameson Jr. Wow. J.K. Simmons portrayed him in the most recent movies and
in the Sam Raimi ones as well. So
yeah, and he's one of my favorites.
Yes.
But that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So what's J. Jonah Jameson's job at the Daily Bugle? He's not a photojournalist.
Chief cook and bottle washer?
He's not the writer. He's not the president. And he's not the CFO.
No. He is, in fact, the publisher.
The publisher. Now, other folks who have worked at the Daily Bugle include the editor-in-chief, Robbie Robertson.
Yep.
Various
admin / sometimes reporter / supporting characters, Betty Brant and Gloria Grant. Not to keep that alliteration thing going, but, And, of course, one of the early reporters, Frederick Foswell. Like I said, not to keep that alliteration thing going.
And then Ned Leeds. Now, if you're familiar with the latest Spider-Man movies, Betty Brant was actually recycled to be one of Peter's classmates. Right. In the original run of Spider-Man, did they date?
Not solidly. I think they went out once or twice.
Yeah.
But
so they always have been contemporaries, just she was never in high school exactly.
Right. Yeah.
When he was in. The Daily Bugle as you can guess, it's apparently noted for its anti-superhero slant.
Mm-hmm. We don't like those crazy guys swimming around the city.
Yep.
Not here at the Daily Bugle.
It's not just a scandal rag. The Daily Bugle, in Marvel continuity, it prides itself on publishing important exposés of political corruption, organized crime, and the Daily Bugle is a strong defender of mutant rights.
Mm-hmm.
So it is frequently targeted by various criminals and hate groups.
Yeah.
But yeah, they hate Spider-Man. Don't know why.
They just kind of do. It's because he's an icky
So
spider.
in Spider-Man Blue, Peter meets Gwen Stacy. Where do they first meet?
In the hospital.
They meet in the hospital, and if you kind of want to know, yeah, it's not. And suddenly I know why Todd can't get a date. If you want to know why they're both in the hospital, we recommend you check out Spider-Man Blue. It's a nice book. We like it. Gwen Stacy, full name Gwendolyn Maxine Stacy, she's a college student and a close friend of Peter Parker's. In Spider-Man Blue, Peter Parker is also in college. Now, Gwen in the movies, she has been portrayed by Bryce Dallas Howard, Emma Stone.
Yes.
And in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, she was voiced by Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah, but that's a totally different Gwen Stacy.
That's
because it's the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Oh, what a tangled web we ride.
But this one's the traditional Gwen Stacy, the one that we know and love.
Yes.
And Gwen, her dad, what does her dad do? No, what is her father's name?
Yes.
And what he does.
His name's Captain. Oh.
His name's Captain Stacy. Stay away from my daughter.
He's right.
George Stacy. He is former police captain from the New York City Police Department. And unlike the Daily Bugle, George Stacy is a strong supporter of Spider-Man. He often defends Spider-Man when others accuse Spidey of criminal acts.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. Dennis Leary portrayed him in one of the movies. James Cromwell, I think, in another.
Yep. James Cromwell did it back in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man #3. Dennis Leary came along and did it opposite Emma Stone in the two with Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he was a cop, and his name was George.
Yes.
His name was George. All right, I gave this away at the top of the broadcast. In Spider-Man Blue, where is Peter's home? Where is Peter's home always? Queens, y'all.
Queens.
Remember that scene in the movie where, like, Brooklyn? Queens.
Yeah. Captain America Civil War.
Exactly.
Right. Not to be confused with the other Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse who's from Brooklyn.
Queens. As a matter of fact, if you look on Google Maps, he's from Forest Hill, Queens, 20 Ingram Street, which is an actual street. If you go to Google Maps, you will find it. 20 Ingram Street in Forest Hill, Queens. Yeah. And in 2002, the New York Times published an article about Aunt May's house, and they mentioned that the families living there was actually named
Parker.
Yep. And at 19 Ingram Street were the
Osborns.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Can't imagine what it was like around the holidays there.
Halloween must have been awesome.
Mm-hmm. Great mask, Mr. Osborn.
So this is the actual address of Aunt May's house was discovered in like June, July 1989 when Venom finds a change of address form left in Peter Parker's jacket.
Gotta be careful where you leave that stuff.
So,
somebody with sticky fingers might find it.
You can do a change of address online now, and I recommend it so supervillains don't find your house. This has been a public service announcement. In Spider-Man Blue, who's the second villain to appear? The first was the Green Goblin. We all know him.
Because there's not
the
one.
second supervillain that he's battling is... It's Rhino, occasionally called the Rhino, depending. And the Rhino's real name is?
Alesky Savetsevich.
Gesundheit.
Thank you.
The Rhino was created by Stan Lee and artist John Romita Sr.
Right.
And he first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man number 41, first appeared.
Yes.
That would have been, October 1966?
Right. He was originally a Russian thug who underwent an experimental procedure and got that suit artificially grafted to his skin, along with some superhuman skills. Talk about dedication to being tough.
So, the Rhino is a dim-witted brute.
Well, did I mention he got the suit grafted to his skin?
Like maybe if he got like a really good exfoliant, he could. Anyway.
Yeah.
In the movies.
Right. Specifically, Amazing Spider-Man number 2.
Yeah, Paul Giamatti played him.
Yeah. Although in that case, he actually had battle armor as opposed to a suit grafted to his skin.
Yeah, that would be problematic. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And he was apparently... No, he is also a Republican in name only, so, there's that.
Yeah, because he's a Rhino.
Now, Spider-Man Blue starts off on a holiday. Which holiday? It's not Halloween.
No.
It's not Christmas.
Mm-mm. It's
Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And that's really important, and it becomes a little bittersweet. And if you want to know why, we really recommend that you read the book.
Yes.
The one thing,
The one thing
I really like about Spider-Man Blue is that it starts in a world
of a simpler time. Kinda.
There's no Uncle Ben.
No.
Uncle Ben it's a moment everybody knows, and while that impacts things, it's like we all know.
Right.
So how you handle Uncle Ben and I like how they handle Uncle Ben, which is by not handling Uncle Ben.
Right. It just picks up in the middle of Spidey's early life and moves on.
So again,
we're
talking about Spider-Man Blue. It's a graphic novel that collects the 6 separate issues Spider-Man Blue. It was initially published in 2002. One of the blurbs on it where Peter's saying it's about remembering someone so important to me that I was going to spend the rest of my life with them.
Yes.
It's the story of that covers, among other things, how Peter Parker met Gwen Stacy, how their relationship evolved, etc. It also has a couple other females that are important ultimately to Spider-Man. including, but not limited to, Aunt May and a couple others.
Yeah. Ooh.
Again, we like the book. We recommend it. And I'm echoing for some reason.
Could have a little to do with technical things on my side. But.
So Spider-Man Blue was written by Joseph Jeff Loeb, who is an American film and television producer, writer, award-winning comic book creator. Loeb was a producer-writer on the TV series Smallville. He was involved in the series Lost. He wrote for the films Commando and Teen Wolf, and writer and co-executive producer of NBC TV show Heroes.
Yeah. He's also one of the executive producers of the various Netflix Marvel series that have now recently bounced over to Disney Plus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's done Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, Hulk, Captain America, Cable, Iron Man, Daredevil, Supergirl, The Avengers, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
And he's done a lot.
So, and most of this he does with his favorite artist, it seems, or his longtime collaboration with artist
Tim Sale.
Yep.
Who's also won a number of awards.
Yep. So they've done, if you've watched the combination stuff, they did The Long Halloween, which again we recommend. Check out our go to YouTube or whatnot and see about the past thing. They did Year One, Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, Batman Dark Victory, Hulk Gray. I mean, it's just a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to our website, we might have a version available for sale. If you buy it from us, we make no money. All of our profits go straight to charity, specifically the Autism Self-Advocacy Network.
Indeed. Charity very near and dear to our hearts.
All right. So that wraps up our show for tonight. Thank you. You're awesome. We're going to start going live in the next week or two. So if you want to make sure not to show, and by live and fully, this was live. We are alive. I'm alive. But we mean fully interactive with the etc. This is just our sort of doing the dry run, out of town previews, getting used to the new technology, getting used to doing a show on AMP. But feel free to join our mailing list. We promise not to spam you and to only send you super bad jokes.
Right.
Our email is the.com.nation@gmail.com. Our website is com-. It's all about the hyphen, y'all. If Spider-Man has taught you nothing, it's about the hyphen. Com-nation.
All the cool kids have the hyphen.
We know nothing about being the cool kids. Nothing. Yeah. We hope you had fun. We appreciate you spending time with us. Don't be a stranger. We love you. Have a great week.
Yep. And read more comics.
Bye.
Bye.